So with our lovely Miss M, so Maple is here for her first day at Doggy Day School. She and her new little friend, Miss Pepper, have been doing really nice together. They've been doing some really nice hellos to the fencing. When I first brought out Miss M, I had the fencing up like usual between the two beauties, and then I went right into some playing with the flirt pole. And Maple did a very nice job working play versus going and getting a little unsure or too excited about the new neighbor. So a lot of times, remember, play could be a great way to include something the puppy could do instead of the original behavior. So if your puppy tends to get overly eager, or it's sometimes frustrated, or even at times what can be very much so kind of like a big feeling, so like reactivity, could also be a great way to redirect that gorgeous energy that now gets funneled into something we don't really love into an outlet that is more appropriate. But remember, behavior is not good or bad. It's not right or wrong. So remember, especially for dogs or any animal, is that they are just responding to the environment in a way that makes them feel safe, or gives them an outlet. If, let's say, something is lacking, they may find that, you know what, barking out the window for 5 whatever hours a day could be a really great way to expend energy. Plus, for some of the babes, they're rehearsing behavior that makes them feel safe. So they're probably going to do it again in different venues or different environments. So if, let's say, your puppy was window shopping, as I like to call it, and your dog is practicing watching things come, approach the environment, and then move away, even though they're leaving because they've already delivered the package, or they're walking by the home because they're going on a walk, your babe is then practicing barking. I found the new thing. I'm a little overwhelmed. Please go away. And in that moment, the thing does go away, or does move away, or get out of range. So from the puppy's perspective, and I know we've discussed this a little bit when we did our couple one-on-ones, is then your puppy's actually rehearsing that when I bark and I say, get out of here, I'm nervous, then the thing does go away. So I'm not saying that we want our dogs to feel overwhelmed or feel trapped, or get bombarded by novelty. But if they're able to rehearse something that we don't love, we want to prevent that through management and replace behaviors we don't love with outlets that might be more appropriate. So right now, I've just been doing some lovely find its as Miss M is getting comfortable with the sights and sounds and smells of the classroom. She has been here obviously in the past for doing her puppy class, and she does sometimes come to Tuesday night WrestleMania, so the puppy play group. But I know she had an injury and she had to take a little recess from some programs, and now she's back into the groove. But I know she's getting spayed in a little bit too. Chewing and running is hard, but she got it. Good job, madam. So right now, she might take a little breather after this program, but of course I would love to have her keep rocking it, because again, as we're going through puppyhood, oh my goodness, chew them, as we're going through puppyhood into young adults, so adolescence, we're gonna run into potentially more fear periods. In general, adolescence is a hard time frame for all creatures. So we may find for her is sometimes when you feel a big emotion, it's hard to rein it back in, because in the moment it feels very legit. And of course, it, from her perspective, nice. Even though we know the UPS guy doesn't come and eat dogs, sometimes there could be moments that from your puppy's perspective, certain new things equal spooky. So, oh my goodness, chew it, madam. She's like, chewing is just not an option. How about you figure it out, and then we can do another little find it. So for our gorgeous gal, I wanted to do a little bit with some play, oh my goodness, and then go from play into dropping and letting go of the toy item, and then practice kind of that on-off switch for her. I know we mentioned this a little bit in the private, where if, for example, my goodness, madam, chew it up, is if your babe is sometimes having a hard time with arousal or getting wicked jazzed and then becoming overly mouthy, or jumpy, is a lot of times, even small dogs do have a lot of great energy. So a lot of times people think, oh, smaller dog will be easier, and it might be easier in the sense that they're littler, so less to deal with physically when it comes to like their strength. But I find sometimes little dogs have more oomph or more energy than bigger. So, but again, every dog's an individual. So with our little lady, we want to practice a little bit with this on-off switch, which I know we've dived into a little bit during our session, where we want to get her to practice getting excited and coming back from it. But the benefit of some of this play is that it's very dog-centric. So it involves, for example, running and chasing and trying to catch that critter right there. So the benefit of running, chasing, biting, tugging, and I know this is not a tug toy, but at times there's some tugging, is this can give her a venue to do doggy things onto an appropriate item. So a lot of behavioral trouble actually stems from lack of experience. So sometimes lack of socialization or early crucial moments. But a lot of it also stems from some needs being not met by the puppy, either physically or mentally, depending on the breed or breeds. This doesn't mean, again, I've mentioned it in the past, where if you have a certain dog, it doesn't mean you have to go out and get a flock of sheep for your border collie. But remembering that when you got a particular breed, or have certain breeds put together, those dogs do have a lot of genetics that have been driving behavior for generations. So 20 to 40% of your dog's behavior stems from their genetics. The remainder will, again, like I mentioned, could be their experiences or lack thereof, negative experiences as well. And then, for example, maternal. So like what happened while in utero, what happened while she was a baby around her mother and litter mates, when she was separated and how she was moved from one environment to another. All those things can also have effect for behavior down the road. I know we recently had an injury for our little lady, and a lot of times injuries can also put a little monkey wrench into things, because now when your puppy was maybe unsure about something and now all of a sudden it hurt or it was startling, that can now pair sometimes the spooky noises with the cars, and then the car then brought the pain. So not to get in depth as to what went on with our little lady, but we may find that, for example, sometimes now novelty, like you had mentioned in the beginning, it was kind of trucks, and then now it's kind of moved on to cars. So if she's struggling with certain noises, just like our Miss P, they're both kind of sensitive girls, is I would recommend Spotify. There is a playlist of sounds that you can pick and choose from. If, again, your puppy is terrified of trucks or has a really hard time with fire alarms or whatever it might be, don't choose those noises to start. Pick something as benign as, for example, like wind chimes or bubbling water. So just something new. Your puppy could then hear it at a very low volume. Nice job. And you could then feed the pup for either checking in with you, doing a find it, doing some puppy push-ups, which are your sits, downs, and stands or ups. You could also pair those noises with some play. So that way your puppy could start to think, these novel things don't equal, I don't know what's going to happen, or I have no idea what to do about it next. If you are sometimes getting some uncertain behavior from her where she's nervous or sensitive or a little startled, I'd go right into bringing her into behaviors that build comfort or confidence. So for a lot of the puppies in the beginning, remember those find its tend to be one of the easiest dance moves for them to work on. Then from there, you go from find its to sit, to check-in, to name recognition, to working maybe take it and drop it. So again, we're going to go get it. Nice. Our toy is alive and wiggling. She's doing a real nice job. So again, when you're playing with the flirt pole, you'll see that I do keep it low. Right there, nice job. So I'm going to feed her for, again, letting go. At times, our little lady does have a hard time. I know you guys were mentioning she sometimes does some resource guarding, and it's typically because I find a lot of the pups have been, while we're practicing around them, been shown that when they do grab for something, it turns into a big deal, and we tend to be the end of the fun. So I know we discussed a little bit on the toy exchange game, also working that when she's even playing, notice how the toy doesn't instantly leave. I feed her several snacks at times for doing a great job just hanging out and not necessarily still grabbing it or playing with it while it's stationary. Nice job, cuteness. So again, definitely working on giving her things to do instead. So I know we dived into working find its and trying to pair that with the look at that game or the watch that game. Nice job, cuteness. So in the Control Unleashed pattern games, they call it LAT, so look at that. Remember, you want to start with something benign, non-scary, nothing that's triggering, and go from there onto things that are sometimes a little exciting or distracting, but not necessarily instantly the spooky thing. So if we know, loud trucks are really hard for her, we don't want to go right into watching trucks because that might be too overwhelming and just cause her to think the look at that or watch that game is here comes danger and we lose our marbles. So under threshold is what you're looking for, which again, under threshold would be where your puppy is still comfortable, is still able to perform skills or tasks, and they're still taking food or responding to play and other fun things they tend to enjoy. So we'll give her a little break from the toy. She's like, I'm not done with that bad boy. But I would recommend for now is always think, as opposed to not loving a behavior and viewing as how do we stop it, think to yourselves, what does this behavior behind it have for a purpose? And a lot of times if behaviors are just suppressed, and I'm not saying that's what we're doing, but a lot of times we tend to say, stop that, or that's enough, or no, but it still doesn't show your puppy what you'd prefer. So always think that, have my pup's emotional, and physical needs been met? And if for right now, going for those big boy, big girl walks equals a lot of reactivity, I would skip those for now, or stick to bubbles where things are wide open and you could see things approaching and either create more distance or redirect onto going and doing find it's in the grass, or maybe redirect onto something to play with. But if right now we are doing those real world walks like we've chatted about earlier, is then our babe will, for example, view it as she doesn't always know when the uncertainty is coming. And then what that can start to create is more like the spooky house or the haunted house situation, where you don't always know what critter or creature or spooky monster is going to pop out and scare you. So with our gorgeous gal, make sure that in the environments you're practicing, there's safe feeling for her, so you can then help build those skills. Ready? Yes. So right there, my positive interrupter, one of my favorites, is a great way to get your babe's attention back on you from the environment. Yes. So I would also recommend use those marker words. So for me, I like the word YES. So yes, to mark a moment where she did the right thing. So I'm going to, again, send her away with a find it. And then go yes, and reinforce that lovely response. Oh my goodness, chewing is so hard. So, but you can see there, well, I don't know if you can hear it, but there's been lots of truck noises driving by, and then she's able to bounce back. Yes. So this ability to reorient to you is like the foundation of loose leash walking, coming when called, a lot of really great foundation behaviors that then can again become more refined and mastered and become more advanced skills down the road. Yes. Nice job. So, but when practicing, definitely keep your reps or your practice moments short and sweet. So if again, little Miss M is showing signs that she's not doing as well, it's not because she's on purpose trying to ignore you. It's typically because she's either getting too tired, or she's maybe mentally or physically pooped out, or she could be overwhelmed. So if you're not getting great responses, yes, then it normally means that there's something that's throwing off your puppy. It could be as simple as, oh, there you go, find it. It could be as simple as hormonal changes. So I know that she has already gone through her first heat and she's going to be getting spayed shortly. So that way she was able to fully develop and then, be altered for when she was a little bit more mature. So with our gorgeous gal, a lot of times different developmental stages will create different behaviors, while also novelty in the environment can be more challenging as you're turning into a teenager. You got to chew these, wild lady. So, but Miss M is doing a really nice job with some of these skills already. So I would highly recommend think, what would I rather have my puppy do versus how do I stop it? If, oh my goodness, chewing. If we don't love what she's doing, think, what would I prefer, or how could I prevent it from happening in the first place? So if she's really failing, we may have to limit her window shopping. We may have to limit her availability to the places where she's failing. So because if we had, if we were struggling with alcohol or something, we can't be then going constantly to the bar and just having another drink and then somehow not be drinking. So for our little lady, she has to take a break from going to those things where she's failing. Otherwise, that's going to be the thing or behavior she's rehearsing and getting really good at. Nice job, cuteness. So we'll give our lovely little Miss M maybe a moment to chew, and then we'll work a few more little skills. My goodness, you wild lady. We'll do another little find it, and then we'll give her a little breather. But she's really doing a great job.